What if the most powerful people in entertainment never needed to deny anything, because silence was always part of the plan? What if a single late-night live stream said more without names than 100 scandals with proof? Last night, an insider went live, not screaming, not chasing clout, but speaking like someone carrying a weight that was never meant to be shared. No accusations. No list of names. Just patterns. Just hints. Just a story about a world where image matters more than consequences, and where protection is more valuable than truth. And then something strange happened. No celebrity responded. No PR statements dropped. No legal threats appeared.
Yeah, that's she's delivering a spirit amongst young girls. She's introducing. We've had a gangster spirit. The gangster spirit damn near wiped the young black males out. This spirit is fit to do a number on the young black girl.
Just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't calm a situation, it makes it louder. Social media didn't explode because of what was said. It exploded because of what wasn't denied. Old rumors resurfaced. Archived interviews started sounding different. Fans began connecting dots that were never meant to be connected. So now the question isn't who is involved. The question is, why does nobody want to talk about it? Because when an industry trained to control narratives suddenly goes quiet, that's when the real story begins. The live didn't feel loud. It felt heavy, like someone speaking while knowing every word carried a cost. She didn't rush. She didn't perform. There were no dramatic pauses for effect, no exaggerated expressions meant to go viral. In fact, the most unsettling part was how calm she tried to sound while describing something that clearly disturbed her. Viewers noticed it immediately. This wasn't entertainment energy. This was emotional weight. She talked about rooms the public never sees. Private gatherings where cameras are forbidden. Where phones are placed in bowls at the door. Where NDAs aren't paperwork, they are protection shields. Where reputation walks in before any person does. She described a world where faces everyone recognizes move differently when the lights are off and the doors are closed. And she kept repeating one strange thing. This isn't about one person. This is about a pattern. That line hit differently. Because patterns don't belong to individuals. Patterns belong to systems. As the live continued, viewers began noticing how carefully she chose her words. She never said this person did this. She never pointed a finger. Instead, she painted a picture. A culture. An environment where risky behavior allegedly lived comfortably behind fame, money, and influence. A place where accountability was negotiable, but image was sacred. The comments started flying. People weren't asking who. They were asking how long. That shift changed everything. Old blind items started resurfacing in comment sections. Screenshots of deleted posts from years ago began circulating. Clips from interviews that once seemed harmless suddenly felt loaded with hidden meaning.
Got HPV? I bet she done had chlamydia, gonorrhea, trigonometry, cryopts, and whatever else that can contract. Hell, you talking about she too motherfucking nasty, mannish, fierce at the mouth, and she ain't got them hot dollar weed. Everybody done.
Lyrics, throwaway jokes, past rumors. Everything started being re-examined under a new light. But here's where it got unsettling. Normally, when celebrities are even slightly linked to rumors, their teams respond within minutes. Statements, denials, legal threats, something. This time, nothing. Absolute, coordinated, almost eerie silence. No one addressed it. No one mocked it. No one shut it down. And that silence felt louder than outrage. She mentioned how people in these circles allegedly rely on an unspoken rule. If nobody talks, nothing exists. If nobody confirms, nothing happened. If nobody responds, the story suffocates on its own. But the story didn't suffocate. It spread. Not because of names, but because of familiarity. Viewers began recognizing the pattern she described. They didn't need identities. They recognized the behavior, the type of headlines that come and go, the way certain scandals disappear overnight, the way some people always seem protected, no matter what whispers follow them. Then her voice shifted. It cracked slightly. She admitted she had struggled with whether to say anything at all. That she knew what happens to people who speak about things that powerful circles prefer to keep buried. That she understood the difference between gossip and dangerous truth. "This isn't tea," she said quietly. "This is a warning." That line froze the chat. Because gossip entertains. Warnings disturb. She talked about how image management allegedly works faster than justice. How entire teams exist not to protect people, but to protect narratives. How private doctors, private settlements, private apologies keep public reputations spotless while private damage allegedly stays hidden. And again, she reminded viewers, this is bigger than any one celebrity. As thousands watched, the mood in the live chat changed from curiosity to discomfort. People weren't laughing. They weren't joking. They were listening, trying to understand what she was implying without her having to say it. She hinted that what scared her most wasn't what she had seen, but how normal it had become to everyone involved. How certain behavior allegedly stopped being shocking and started being routine. How silence became part of participation. Then she said something that made viewers pause. The people you think would speak up, won't. Because they benefit from the quiet too. That sentence reframed everything. Suddenly, this wasn't a story about villains and victims. It was a story about complicity. About a culture where speaking out costs more than staying silent. Where people choose comfort over confrontation, access over accountability. And just when the live felt like it couldn't get heavier, she admitted something personal. She said she had been warned. Not threatened loudly. Not dramatically. Just subtle reminders. Conversations that didn't need to explain consequences because the consequences were already understood. That's when viewers realized this wasn't a rant. This was someone calculating every word in real time. And still choosing to speak. By the time the live ended, nothing had been confirmed. No names had been spoken. No accusations had been made. Yet somehow, it felt like more had been revealed than if she had listed every detail. Because she didn't expose people. She exposed a system. And systems don't respond the way individuals do. They go quiet. The morning after the live felt strange. Not chaotic. Not explosive. Controlled. Entertainment pages that usually jump on drama with loud headlines suddenly sounded careful. Words like alleged, unclear, context missing began appearing everywhere. Commentators who normally pick sides immediately were now waiting for more information. The urgency was gone. Replaced with something softer. Safer. That shift didn't happen by accident. It felt managed. Viewers noticed how quickly the focus moved away from what was said and toward who said it. Articles began dissecting her past. Old interviews resurfaced. Moments from years ago were replayed out of context. The narrative quietly pivoted from the message to the messenger. And people online caught it in real time. Why is nobody talking about what she described? Why is the conversation suddenly about her character? Because this is how uncomfortable stories are handled. You don't erase them. You redirect them. Meanwhile, something else was happening in the background. Silence from the biggest names. No jokes. No tweets. No denials. Not even mockery. Just absence. And in an industry that thrives on visibility, absence is loud, especially when the topic is serious enough that even rumors usually trigger legal warnings within hours. This time, nothing. That nothing started feeling intentional. She didn't go live again immediately. She posted short, vague messages. Not emotional. Not dramatic. Almost careful. Like someone aware that every word was being watched from angles the public couldn't see. People began speculating. Was she being advised to slow down? Was she being pressured quietly? Was she negotiating? Or protecting herself? No one knew. But the energy had shifted from curiosity to unease. Anonymous accounts started popping up, pushing counter-narratives. Suggesting she was unstable. Suggesting she wanted attention. Suggesting she misunderstood what she saw. The goal wasn't to disprove her. It was to make her questionable. Because once the messenger looks unreliable, the message loses weight automatically. Still, the internet didn't let go. Old rumors started aligning too neatly with what she had described. Stories people had dismissed for years suddenly felt less random. Fans began rewatching interviews, reading old blind items, listening to lyrics differently. Patterns. That word kept coming back. And patterns don't disappear because someone calls them coincidence. What unsettled viewers most was her tone when she returned briefly. She didn't sound angry anymore. She sounded tired. Drained. Like someone who understood that speaking once had already changed how she would be treated moving forward. She admitted she hadn't expected the reaction to be this intense. Not from the public. From the silence. She said something that stuck with people. I thought someone would say something. Anyone. But nobody did. That line hit harder than everything before it. Because it confirmed what viewers were already noticing. The quiet wasn't random. It was collective. Coordinated without needing coordination. A shared understanding that saying nothing was safer than saying anything. And then she hinted at something that made the situation darker. She suggested that documentation existed. Not dramatic evidence. Not viral recordings. Just records. Messages. Conversations saved over time for protection, not exposure. A quiet archive that only becomes important when silence stops being enough. She didn't threaten to release anything. She didn't need to. The implication alone changed the atmosphere. Suddenly, this wasn't just a viral moment. It felt like the beginning of something that had moved beyond social media, into rooms where decisions are made without cameras, without comments, without hashtags. And that's when people realized. This story wasn't escalating publicly. It was escalating privately. Days passed, and the noise online slowly turned into something heavier than outrage. Watchfulness. People weren't refreshing feeds for updates anymore. They were observing behavior. Who posted as usual? Who went unusually quiet? Who avoided certain topics in interviews? Who suddenly seemed careful with their words? Because when a story stops being loud, it starts being revealing. Industry events continued. Red carpets happened. Smiles flashed for cameras. But viewers noticed something subtle. The energy felt rehearsed. Interactions looked measured. Conversations that once felt spontaneous now felt monitored. It was as if everyone understood that something invisible was hanging in the air. And nobody wanted to be the one to disturb it. Behind the scenes, whispers suggested that quiet meetings were taking place. Not dramatic confrontations. Not shouting matches. Calm discussions in private rooms where reputations, relationships, and risks were being evaluated. Not to decide what was true, but to decide what could be controlled. Because control is always the priority. She, meanwhile, had almost disappeared. No emotional posts. No long explanations. Just brief appearances that felt intentional. When she did speak, her words were slow, deliberate, almost legal in tone. She didn't accuse. She didn't clarify, she simply repeated one idea. Truth doesn't expire just because people stop talking. That line unsettled people. It sounded less like a statement and more like a marker placed quietly in the ground. Rumors started circulating that intermediaries had reached out to her. Not with threats. With options. Silence. Distance. Resolution. The kind of conversations that happen when a situation is too sensitive for public drama. At the same time, others claimed she had been reminded, gently, of how easily narratives can shift. How quickly someone can be labeled unstable, emotional, unreliable. How reputation can be eroded without a single direct accusation. Because destruction doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like isolation. Viewers began realizing that this wasn't unfolding like a scandal. There were no leaks. No screenshots. No dramatic exposes. Just an uncomfortable pause stretching longer than anyone expected. And pauses make people think. The most unsettling development didn't come from her. It came from someone anonymous claiming proximity to the situation. They hinted that quiet reviews had begun. Internal conversations. Private examinations. Not for the public. Not for headlines. But for records. No confirmation followed. No denial came either. That absence of reaction made the entire situation feel suspended in mid-air. Like a story waiting for a phase the public might never see. Meanwhile, the industry returned to normal on the surface. New music releases. New movie announcements. New distractions. But underneath, something had shifted. People were watching each other more carefully. Associations subtly changed. Invitations quietly reconsidered. Silence had altered behavior. And that may have been the biggest impact of all. Because even without names, even without proof, even without public confrontation, a pattern had been recognized. And once people see a pattern, they can't unsee it. Her final brief message before stepping back again was simple. This was never about exposure. It was about awareness. Then nothing. No return. No follow-up. No closure. Just a lingering question that refused to go away. If the claims were meaningless, why did they need so much careful handling? And if they weren't, what happens next might not happen where anyone can see it. Because this was never about gossip, never about picking sides, and never about chasing headlines. This was about recognizing a pattern that most people are trained to ignore. A pattern where silence speaks louder than statements, where image moves faster than accountability, and where the loudest reaction is often no reaction at all. So now, the real question isn't what was said. It's what wasn't. Why did this moment pass without the usual denials? Why did the focus shift so quickly from the message to the messenger? Why did the industry that responds instantly to rumors suddenly choose patience? Pay attention to that. Because stories like this don't disappear, they get buried under distractions. New drama, new headlines, new viral moments designed to make you forget what made you uncomfortable in the first place. Don't let that happen. Watch what people do next. Watch who avoids the topic. Watch which conversations suddenly feel off limits. Silence is never empty. It's usually full of decisions being made where cameras can't go. If you believe powerful systems shouldn't be protected by quiet, stay aware. If you think uncomfortable questions deserve attention, stay engaged. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think silence is a strategy or a signal? And if you want more stories that go beyond surface headlines and into the patterns nobody wants to talk about, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because sometimes the real story isn't what you're told. It's what you're not.